Hello, hello. This is a quick little test stream. I took a crack at doing a demo, and actually, I make sure my volumes are down. Mute. Okay, so I took a crack yesterday at doing a demo of some software that I wanted to use. That I wanted to demo, and I forgot some key parts of that demo. So I want to take another shot at it today and see if I can't do a better job. So basically, there's two pieces of software that I wanted to demo in a quick test stream, and that is the Voicebot software, which is free for 30 days and allows you to basically do voice triggers. And another cool feature is to link your voice triggers to your animations. So the other piece of software I'm going to be referencing is the Lioran board. The Lioran board is really powerful software for connecting commands and triggers to animations and other things. Basically, it's just a like a virtual stream deck where you can push a button and you can have things happen. For example, I'm going to turn on my second display using my voice triggers and then show you a little bit about how that works. Nurse add D2. Nurse add D2. Okay, so I had the nurse turn on my second display, and in that second display now, I'm going to bring over the Lioran board software. And by the way, the links for both the Lioran board software and for the Voicebot voice triggering software, I have linked in the description of this video. So you can always find where to download that software and try it yourself. But basically, this is the Lioran board configuration tool and allows you to define customized buttons and triggers. And so for my animation stream deck, for example, I have all these different triggers that do different things, and then when you're done creating your stream deck, you can actually launch it, and when you launch the stream deck, it actually just looks like a collection of buttons like this right here. And so then what you have is, if you've configured everything correctly, and if your Lioran board is talking to your OBS, so this up here, this connect to OBS, that tells you that it's connected to your OBS, and then the other two are what allows it to connect to your Twitch to monitor like chat and redemptions and things like that. Once you have all that connectivity, now you can start to trigger on events. Like for example, if somebody was to type !boom in my chat, God, it would actually trigger that event. So because I said the word boom, it's actually triggering based on my voice commands. But I'm going to show you how that same animation can occur if I click the boom. There's clicking it, and then there's also the chat option. So if I come over here to my chat and I type ! that word, it also does the same thing. So there you have three different triggers for the same exact thing, the boom. So the question is, how did I do that with the voice? And that's the other thing that I want to show you. Well, the second piece of software that you can use is called the Voicebot, and it's very powerful, and I'm going to bring that into view right now so you can see it. Once you download it and then you launch it, it basically starts monitoring your speech, and everything that I say is being kind of evaluated. If I say a certain key phrase, it will do something based on that phrase. For example, this phrase, voice triggers. Voice triggers. Well, now it's not catching it. Voice triggers. Let's try this one. Nurse, switch to news. Nurse, switch to news. Nurse, switch to main. Wow, that's interesting. I wonder if having it up like that makes a difference. Let me try. Usually I run it minimized, so let me go ahead and minimize it. Voice triggers. Okay, so there we go. So when I say the phrase voice triggers, it's supposed to trigger this chat message, which kind of reminds me all the different phrases that I can use to trigger different animations. For example, cheer. Cheer. Okay, so that is a phrase that triggers an animation. Pumped. Pumped. Okay, voice triggers. Voice triggers. And I think the music in the background might be affecting it. Okay, so let's try shark. 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 And notice that there's, okay, so I may not have done the shark one yet. Let me try emergency. Emergency. Bear. Okay, so it found the bear. That's good. So basically you have to set up linkage between your voice phrase and the actual animation that runs. Voice triggers. Let's try flatline. Cheers. Okay, so there's cheers. That's good. Let's try Grinch.
3 words that best describe
so
you are as follows, and I quote.
So, what I was going to explain to you is how the Voicebot software works. So you can see that it is working, but how did I set up that linkage? So if I turn the second display back on and I bring that Voicebot software back into view, as you can see where it's monitoring my voice, then what we do is how do you set up the voice trigger? Okay, so basically you have a profile that you've created. I already created mine. I can manage my profile, and then inside the management of that profile I have a whole bunch of trigger phrases, right? So all these phrases are here. You know, these are the different names of the phrases, and then the description of what they do. Now notice I have a lot of like control functions, control, and then I have some alt commands like alt N, and then I have some of these are like macro scripts. Like if I want to change my scene, for example, if I say nurse, switch to news. Nurse, switch to news. And I think actually I have to be out of this view possibly. So it looks like, okay, so I'm going to try minimizing it. I think it has to be minimized so that it can all take effect. Nurse, switch to news. Okay, so that switches me into my news scene, and then I can switch back to my main by saying nurse, switch to main. Nurse, switch to main. Alright, so when I was showing you that software and you saw some of the commands were longer, it's because they are like a batch, and I'll show you what that looks like. So if I manage the profile, and then I come in and I edit my profile, so I say edit, and then you can see I have these groups, and I have overlays, and I have like a welcome message. So what I would do, for example, for like the Grinch, so here's the Grinch. I edit this, and as you can see, I have it to detect whenever I say Grinch, it presses Control G. And now you might be wondering, okay, how did I set up the Control G to be equal to the Grinch? So let me go ahead and close this back and minimize it. And I'm going to come over back to the Lioran board. So the way Lioran board works, and I've done demos on the Lioran board before, is, you know, you create these buttons and then you save it, and when you're done it ends up creating the stream deck, and that's how you can press the button. But another way to launch the button is to use this trigger shortcut method. So the trigger shortcut method allows you to associate control commands to a button ID. So I might want to come over here and find out my Grinch button and say, hey, what's the ID of my Grinch button? And by the way, it's like in the bottom right corner. So let's come over here. Let's actually raise this up a bit. And if I right click on Grinch, I can see that the button ID is 80. So I want to associate that button ID of 80 with Control G, because my Voicebot software is going to execute Control G whenever it hears me say the word Grinch. So basically, I come back, I cancel out of this view, and I come back into the triggered shortcut menu. And in this triggered shortcut menu is where I can say, okay, here it is, button ID 80, which represents that Grinch, is going to be associated with...
words that best describe you are as follows,
yeah, so
and I
sometimes...
Stink, stank,
Sometimes it detects when I say the word, so I need to be careful when I say it. But basically, button 80, which is that button, is associated with Control G. And so then in the Voicebot software, whenever I say the word, you know what, it knows to execute Control G. And I showed that by going into my profile and then editing this guy and then looking for the one that was called Grinch, which is right here. Oops, it didn't. Okay, so as long as I don't pause before and after, I think it does it. And notice how I have the action set to Control G. Now, when you want to associate something to a voice phrase, you have a lot of different choices. You can, let me raise this up a little bit so you can see. So if I say add, you've got all these different things. You can do like sounds, you can do delays, you can do clicking of a mouse in a certain place on your desktop. But what I like to do is a press and release of a key. And when you tell it you want to press and release on a key, it basically allows you to say, okay, it's a shift or it's a control, and then you can say which key it is. Okay, now I'm not going to add control alt whatever. I'm just going to cancel out because I already have the key press that I want for this particular phrase. So if I look at what I have already, I have Control G, and that's exactly what I want. So I have this association set up for that voice phrase. I hit OK, and then I can minimize this again, and so then it can start monitoring what I say. And then when I say Grinch, it detects it and it launches that automation because it's sending that Control G, and then the trigger shortcut, which is inside of the Lioran board, is catching it and it is triggering it. Okay, so that's a real basic association of a voice phrase to an animation. But what about some more complex ones? Like I have commands for freezing myself and also for doing an instant replay. And for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away the Lioran board and the Stream Deck, and I'm going to play a little bit of Tetris, and I'm going to do both a freeze effect and I'm going to do a replay effect. And the reason I picked Tetris is because when the pieces are coming down, you can tell that everything's going at normal time. It's like a reference. And when I do an instant replay, you're going to see the pieces go back up because everything's going to go back in time, 20 seconds. We're going to be living in the past of the stream for that 10 or 12 seconds, and then it's going to fast forward back to the current time, and then the pieces will probably be stacked up because I wasn't able to control them. But that's the demo that I want to do for this part of it. So I'm going to resume this game of Tetris, and let me just kind of like start, and then as I get going, I'm going to try doing some freeze and replay commands to see if I can get them to take effect. Okay, so voice triggers. Okay, there we go. So now I can see my commands. In case I forget like which commands I can do, it's like, okay, yeah, there they are. Let's go ahead and try the freeze. Okay, here we go. Freeze. Okay, so there I am. I'm frozen, and so basically I can't do anything while I'm frozen. Well, no, I can still do things, but my view of my camera remains frozen. Okay, so that one doesn't hurt me too bad, but when I do this next one, it's actually going to affect the gameplay because I'm going to be blocked. Here we go. Replay.
It's rewind time.
Okay, so we're now rewinded, and we're basically seeing things from like 20 seconds ago. As you can see, the pieces are falling back into place the way I had moved them, and actually the pieces are piling up right now in the current time because I can't manage it. But once we go back, I'll be able to see where I am, and it's like, oh crap, I'm already dead because the pieces moved so quickly. So that's a demo of both the freeze command and the replay command. I also want to demo to you doing a bunch of commands in sequence, because another powerful thing you can do with the Lioran board is you can stack your animations. Anything that triggers and happens, you can stack it to where they don't all happen right away. For example, let me show you some regular animations being stacked. Voice commands. No, sorry. Voice triggers. Voice triggers. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of these in sequence, and you can see how they stack up. Emergency. Bear. Boom. Cheers. Merch. Grinch. Okay, so I just stacked 4 animations in a row. And so they won't all play on top of each other. They will basically go into a queue, and they'll wait one at a time until each of the previous one finishes until it starts the next one. And I can also, and so there's the Grinch. So at least 4 of those that I said were able to launch and become queued up in the stack, and they all ran in sequence. So that's a very powerful thing about stacking, and that's something that the Lioran board community can help you with if you go to their Discord and you search for stacking. It's a very powerful way to route all your triggers through one main trigger button, and that allows it to create a stack and kind of do them in sequence. All right, so I'm going to go back to the game and do a few more animations, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish up, since this is just for practice on a lunch break. All right, cool. So here we go. Let's get back to it. Okay, so let's save that piece. Inferno. Inferno. Hot. Shark.
Oh my god.
Okay, I think I have one of my commands tied to the wrong animation. I'll have to figure out which one. Inferno. Hot. Voice triggers. Okay, let's see. Winter. Freeze. Crazy.
Congratulations.
Okay.
You are still alive.
There's the crazy glasses, even though I'm frozen and I can't move.
To be alive. But not you. Not anymore.
Pumped. Pumped. Winner. Pumped. You know what? I think some of the control commands are actually flipping my pieces in the game. So I'm gonna have to figure out which commands are doing that. Freeze. Replay. Cheers.
It's rewind time.
Okay, here we go. We got a cheers. And now here comes the rewind. Freeze. And I'm frozen, and I'm in a replay state. So you can see the pieces moving by themselves, but actually they're piling up right now. But that's okay. Alright, so that pretty much shows you some queuing up of triggered commands, triggered animations through voice triggers. And that's pretty much what I wanted to show. So there's the command again, since it detected that I said it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the little demo. Just wanted to get that out. And remember, the links for Voicebot and for Lioran Board are in the description of the video. So check them out and see if you can create some of your own. They're pretty fun once you figure out how to get it all working. All right, cheers, thanks.